Good evening, folks, and today I'm going to quickly show you how to set up a Google site. Once you've navigated sites for a couple of times, you'll see that it's really quite powerful and not too difficult. But first, setting it up can be a bit tricky, so that's what we're going to look at creating today. So what you need to do first and foremost to get onto this site's page is click on your icon just here, and from here scroll over to Site, press on that, and you'll land on this page here. Now this isn't where we're going to create our Google site. In fact, you've got to click on this New Google Sites button, which will bring up probably for you an empty page unless you've made a Google site before. And once you're into this stage, I'm going to go through it with you and we're going to create one. So once you get to this page, there's a little plus button here, and we're going to click on that plus. This is going to create your first Google site page. Now there's a few things we're going to do in here to get started so that everything makes sense, and you've got to kind of think about your web page layout right at the beginning just so that it doesn't get confusing later on. So in the untitled site, this is where you're going to name it your course that you're currently doing. So I'm going to do one as an example for film. So level 3 diploma in film dash your name. Obviously don't put example, but I'm just going to put that there so I can delete this site later on once I've done this tutorial. This will really help us later on make sure that we know that it's your site that you're working on. And once you've done that, it will also duplicate it here as well. Now to start off with, just to show you how easy it is to kind of start editing this Google Sites, I'm going to call this first page our home. And you can get creative here. We can change our image. So I'm just going to go to search and I'm going to choose a lovely image of a film set. Google will set you some royalty-free images so you can use this, or feel free to use some images from the behind the scenes stuff you've been doing this year in your production logs to make it nice and personal. So this I'm going to keep as our home page. Now let's go over here to the right hand side and I'm going to show you now how to create pages, and we'll get into some of these things on here as well later on as well. So clicking on pages, this is where you're going to create your pages for the whole Final Major project. Think of this a bit like an index page. Now I'm going to show you quickly an example from a student that did theirs last year, and as you can see here they've got a tab, and each tab links to the specific learning criteria of the final major project or extended major project. And the way they've set up their homepage, as you can see here, they've called their homepage Final Major Project, and under that home. You can also see that they've created links that also send us to the headers that are up here. And this is another way you can do it, again, feeling quite creative. So feel free to have a look through there. Now, what we're going to do is just click on this so you can kind of see some examples. So this student here on their initial ideas page has linked to Google Documents, which again means that we can leave you comments and things like that on your work. And so this is just a really handy way of doing it. And again, primary research takes us to more documents, some lovely mood boards, some videos, and a video log that they've created as well. So heading back over to our example, let's see how you can do that. So first things first, what we want to do is click on this button here, and we want to select New Page. This we're going to call Initial Ideas. So we're mimicking the same structure as that previous student's page. And as you can see, as it loads in here, it creates a new page with the same title to make life a lot easier. And now on here we have two headers, one for home and one on the initial ideas page that we're currently on. And this is really what you want to do to create all the pages for your final major project. So I'm just going to create these two, and then we're going to sort of get into how you can create subpages and things like that. In fact, I'm going to create one more. Here we go. So say for example with research you can do 4 forms of research: primary, secondary, quantitative and qualitative. And what I would recommend is you to create subpages to keep your primary and your secondary separate, and also this will then help you help you later on remember what you specifically need to be creating for your final major project. So you can use the research page as a landing page, and then what we can do is create subpages for your research to have underneath that categorized. So what we're going to do now is these three little dots, we're going to click on those, and you can see we get some more options. And what we're going to do is add subpage, and this one I'm going to call primary. And hit done. And again, over the research header, I'm going to click these three little dots, add subpage again, call this secondary. So we now have research, and within this research, primary and secondary research. And as you can see, as I'm creating these subpages, it's taking me to this page. Now there's nothing to stop you from, again, changing your headers so this is nice and creative. I'm just going to leave the header the same, but sometimes changing the headers, again, can also visually help. Now before we get into anything else, above here on our headers, you can see that when I hover the mouse over research, it drops down both these subpages within research. So this is a really nice way of keeping things nice and compact and easy to navigate. You want your reader and your audience to navigate through your final major project website with ease. So try to follow this process. So with our subpages selected, I'm going to go back into primary. I'm going to show you some ways to insert things here to make this a little bit more engaging. Now you can insert, if you click on insert here, you can insert text boxes, and the text box will allow you to add a title. And I don't know, I'm just going to write some primary research here, so sketches. And then underneath your title, you might want to put a little bit of a description. If you press enter, it's quite intuitive. You can see it immediately changed it to normal text. I didn't need to do anything. Something like this. Now, had I done this, I could then at this point, say for example you've drawn some character bio concepts, you could then select images and you can upload. If you already have some images in your Google Drive, what I would recommend, and this is the same for if you've got documents you want to upload as well, you can click from Drive, and you can see you've got your drive, shared drives, and shared with me. This is where you can I don't know, let's say I'm going to select something on here. Let's select this one here. So imagine this is a, it's not a good example, let's use this one. So this is a Word document, and I'm going to select to insert it. Now what it'll do is insert your document like so. And when you're in your editing mode like this, you can't select or expand it unless you click it and press this button, which will create a new tab for you to sort of keep working in it. But when you're actually looking at your site as an audience, they'll be able to actually not just see it to open it, but they'll also be able to interact with it, and that can be quite fun. You can also insert YouTube URLs. So if you've got a YouTube video, and let's just find a YouTube video now. Again, this can be quite intuitive, and you can grab a YouTube video like so, grab the URL, and then just press Ctrl and V to copy it in there, and it'll insert it as a video. So this can be quite handy if you're trying to analyze a video for this piece. And this is really the basic principles of what you can really do. Feel free to get creative and have a play with some of these other things. You've also got things like image carousels, layouts, and this will essentially put in a template, so you could fill this with an image or whatever, and again it's giving you the text boxes there to work with as well. So at this point it's really about you getting quite creative. You can also change the theme of your Google site on the right hand side, and you can change this at any time if you get bored of it. It'll change the whole site, so you don't have to stick with the same theme throughout, but just be aware that your fonts will alter. So that's been a really quick overview in your lesson with your tutor, they'll go through exactly what headers we expect to see for your final major and extended major projects. But hopefully this has either been a really good informative video to help you out with creating your Google sites. One final thing to note is when you do click on the publish for the first time, make sure that it's again a web address we can understand. And when it says who can view my site, just make sure you change this to anybody, published anyone. Just change this from published to anyone anyone can find and view the published version. This will mean that later on, when this is seen by external moderators and things like that, everyone will be able to access it. So once you've done that, you click save, and then again, just make sure that once you have saved that, any work you upload to your site, you also set the settings to anyone can view that's viewing it. So hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you very much, and